Let's start off this video with a question. What is your favorite capital city on Earth and why? Sometimes capital cities are the best city in a given country. They tend to be where you'll find many of the country's most famous attractions, like say Big Ben and Buckingham Palace in London. However, sometimes capital cities are extremely busy, boring places that just cater for business and workers. For example, I've been to Costa Rica, which is one of the most beautiful countries on Earth in terms of natural geography. However, its capital, San Jose, is pretty much a concrete jungle filled with roads, cars, and trucks. I'm not a particularly big city lover, but Tokyo could be my favorite capital city on Earth. The food, the quirky attractions on every street corner, as well as it being home to one of my childhood favorite movies, Fast and Furious Tokyo Drift, means it cements itself as being perhaps my favorite capital city on Earth. So staying on the topic of Tokyo, let's jump into today's first fact with the Japanese capital itself. So by metro area, the world's most populated capital city is Tokyo of Japan, with a population of around 37 million. That's about the same population as Poland or Morocco. Number 2. The newest capital city at the time of making this video belongs to Juba of South Sudan, who officially became the country's capital on the day that it was founded, the 9th of July 2011. The country officially declared its independence from Sudan, leading to the city becoming the newest capital on Earth. Number 3. La Paz, one of two of Bolivia's capital cities, is the highest capital city on Earth in terms of elevation from sea level. The city is found in the west of the country and sits at an elevation of around 3,650 meters. The city is high up enough to cause altitude sickness in some people, as altitude sickness can start at altitudes of around 2,400 meters and above. Number 4. On the opposite end of the spectrum, Baku of Azerbaijan is the lowest capital city on Earth, sitting just 28 meters below, yes below, sea level. This also makes it the largest big city on Earth found below sea level. Number 5. Tokyo isn't just the capital city with the most people living in it, but also the capital with the most Michelin-starred restaurants, with some 194 establishments totaling 251 stars. To put this in perspective, this is more than what the UK has in total, or around the same as what can be found in China and Hong Kong combined. Number 6. The northernmost capital city on Earth depends on your definition of capital cities. If we just stick to UN country capitals, then Reykjavik of Iceland would be the world's most northern capital. If we include territories as well, then you could argue that Longyearbyen of Svalbard could be the world's most northern capital. Number 7. Quite literally on the flip side, the world's most southern capital city belongs to Wellington of New Zealand, which is actually found quite significantly further south than any other capital city on Earth. Next will be Canberra of Australia, followed by Montevideo of Uruguay. Number 8. If going by official ceremonial names, Bangkok is the capital city with the longest name on Earth. Its ceremonial name is the following, and consists of 21 words and 176 characters in total. Number 9. Speaking of Bangkok, the city was also the most visited capital on Earth in 2023, with around 22.7 million visitors. That is the equivalent of the entire population of Burkina Faso visiting the city within the space of a year. Number 10. Excluding Hong Kong, which is a special administrative region of China, the capital city with the most skyscrapers over 150 meters belongs to both Tokyo and Kuala Lumpur of Japan and Malaysia respectively, both with 173. Although it must be noted that due to the threat of earthquakes, Tokyo's skyscrapers are significantly smaller than those found in Kuala Lumpur. Tokyo's tallest building, for example, stands just 325 meters tall, compared to Kuala Lumpur's being 679, which is actually the second tallest building on Earth. Number 11. With a population of just 318 or so people, Gurulmud of Palau is the world's least populated capital city. The country as a whole has a population of just 18,000, meaning just 1.8% of the entire country lives within the capital. Number 12. Excluding city-states and territories, Kuwait is the country whose capital city has the highest percentage of the country's population living in it. In fact, just over 70% of the country's entire population lives in the capital, Kuwait City. Number 13. With an average yearly temperature of just minus 1.3 degrees Celsius, Ulaanbaatar, the capital of Mongolia, is the world's coldest capital. January and February are exceptionally cold months, with the temperature ranging between minus 15 and minus 40 degrees Celsius. Number 14. On the opposite end of the thermometer, the hottest capital on Earth by yearly average is believed to be Khartoum, the capital of Sudan, with their balmy 29.9 degrees Celsius. Now, you might be thinking, that isn't that hot. You might live in a place that often exceeds this temperature. For me in England, not so much. However, remember, this is the average temperature for the entire year, including its winter and all of its nights. Number 15. Excluding Vatican City and San Marino, which are both enclaves of Rome, Italy, the two closest capital cities in the world are Kinshasa and Brazzaville, of the DR Congo and Republic of Congo respectively. At their closest points, they are just 1.6 kilometers away from one another. Number 16. The only letter of the alphabet that does not start a capital city name is X. Then we have Z, U, Q, and surprisingly E, that all only have one capital city whose name begins with the corresponding letter. This is Zagreb, Ulaanbaatar, Quito, and Edinburgh respectively. Number 17. There are multiple countries who have two capital cities, such as Bolivia, Sri Lanka, and Eswatini. But there is only one country on Earth that has three. Yes, three capitals. If you're into geography, you probably know this already. It is of course South Africa. Its three capitals are Cape Town, Bloemfontein, and Pretoria. Number 18. Nauru, which is the third smallest country on Earth, technically has no capital city. In fact, the country doesn't really have any cities at all. Some sources claim that Yaren could act as its de facto capital, as this is where you'll find most of its important buildings. Number 19. The oldest continuously inhabited capital city on Earth belongs to Damascus of Syria, which is believed to have been inhabited since 2500 BC. The city today has a population of some 2.5 million. Number 20. The shortest capital city name on Earth belongs to 14 different capitals, all with 4 letters each. Some examples are Oslo, Lima, Rome, Juba, and Kyiv. Number 21. The capital city which ranks number 1 for views for this channel is London. Around 1.3% of all views have came from this one capital alone. Number 22. The capital city found closest to the equator line belongs to Quito of Ecuador, which comes to no surprise as the country's Spanish name literally means equator. Quito sits about 26 kilometers south of the equator line itself. There is actually a sign you can visit which sits bang on the equator. Number 23. The capital city that is found furthest away from its own territory belongs to Paris of France, which is found some nearly 17,000 kilometers away from New Caledonia in Oceania. Number 24. There are around 450 million French speakers around the world, but what is the most populated French-speaking capital city on Earth? It's got to be Paris, right? Paris's metro population is some 11 million. However, this still does not rank it as number 1, as that would belong to the bustling megacity of Kinshasa in the DR Congo. Number 25. City boundaries around the world are dependent upon many different factors and aren't universally agreed. There are 3 main types of categories: the city proper, its metro population, and its urban population. The population differences for these categories for some capitals is truly crazy. For example, the city proper population of Manila of the Philippines is just 1.8 million, yet its urban population is some 25 million. Number 26. In the year 2023, the most livable capital city was Vienna of Austria. Over the previous decade or so, the Austrian capital ranked within the top 3 every single year. The city regularly ranks high for this ranking due to its stability, reliable infrastructure, and strong health and education services. Number 27. On the flip side, Damascus of Syria was the least livable capital city on Earth for 2023. Of course, this is unfortunately due to the ongoing civil war leading to instability, death, and destruction. Now, this is extremely saddening due to it also being the oldest continuously inhabited capital. As previously mentioned, many of its historic sites have been completely wiped out. Number 28. This is Panama City, the capital of course, Panama. It is the city with the most skyscrapers over 150 meters in Latin America, with 67. Honestly, if you were to show this image to most people, they'd probably think it's a city in the US, the Middle East, or perhaps somewhere in Asia. Yet it is found in Central America, a place not really associated with modern looking skylines like this. Number 29. At 4,624 millimeters of rainfall per year, this makes Monrovia, the capital of Liberia, the wettest capital on Earth. For reference, New York City gets around 1,100, so around 4 times less than in Monrovia. Number 30. By metro area, which capital do you think is the most populated in Europe, and how does it rank compared to the rest of the world? Well, sitting in 10th place with a population of some 20 million, Moscow is the most populated European capital. For the most populated capital city in Europe, excluding transcontinental countries, London would be the most populated, with around 14 million. Number 31. According to TomTom's traffic index, London is the capital city with the worst traffic on Earth. The average travel time per 10 kilometers is 37 minutes and 20 seconds, with an average rush hour speed of just 14 kilometers an hour. It is worth noting, however, that not all capital cities are part of this index. Number 32. In terms of property prices, Monaco, the capital of course, Monaco, is the world's most expensive. Some figures suggest that the average property price is around 3.2 million euros. Number 33. Cape Town, one of 3 of South Africa's capitals, is thought to be the world's most dangerous city in terms of murder rates. The capital has a murder rate of 63 homicides per 100,000 people, or around 3,000 homicides across its nearly 5 million population per year. For reference, number 1 is Colima in Mexico, with a murder rate 3 times higher. Number 34. There are 5 countries whose capital city is the exact same name as the country, being Luxembourg, Monaco, San Marino, Singapore, and Vatican City. There are also several other countries who have very similar names to their capitals, such as Mexico City, Panama City, Andorra la Vella, and Kuwait City. Number 35. Norway's capital, Oslo, is the greenest capital city on Earth. Some 72% of the Norwegian capital is covered with greenery or eco-friendly buildings. Number 36. In 2023, Singapore, which is of course the capital of Singapore, ranked as the world's most expensive capital city to live in. The city-state ranked equal first with Zurich, which of course isn't the Swiss capital, leading to Singapore officially being the world's most expensive capital. Number 37. The continent with the most capital cities on Earth is Africa. There are 54 sovereign states across the continent, but in fact up to 64 capital cities. This is due to many African countries having more than one capital, as well as there being some disputed regions. Number 38. The continent with the least amount of capital cities would be Antarctica, with 0, as there are no countries there. If we exclude Antarctica, then the next continent with the least amount of capital cities would be Australia, as there is just 1, Canberra. But if you exclude Australia as a continent and lump it in with Oceania, then South America would have the least amount of capital cities, with 12 or 13 if you include French Guiana. Number 39. By metro area, can you guess which South American capital city is the most populated and where it ranks compared to all cities on Earth? Well, ranking as the 17th most populated city on the planet, the Argentinian capital of Buenos Aires has a population of some 15 million. Number 40. This is Equatorial Guinea, a tiny West African nation. Its capital is Malabo. Now, looking at this map, can you see what makes the capital so special? Yep, the country's capital is found not on the mainland of the country, but in fact on an island northwest of the rest of the country, making its capital closer to both Cameroon and Nigeria than the rest of Equatorial Guinea. Number 41. The 2 most distant capital cities on Earth is slightly complicated. Let's take a look. So Paraguay actually recognizes Taiwan as an independent nation, so by their regard, their 2 capitals, Asuncion and Taipei, are the most distant capital cities on Earth, at just under 20,000 kilometers. However, if we go by UN recognized countries, then Wellington of New Zealand and Madrid of Spain would be the most distant, at 19,800 kilometers. Number 42. Berlin, the capital of Germany, actually has more bridges than Venice, Italy. It has around 1,700 bridges spanning across its waterways. Number 43. The US has a lot of capitals if you take into account states and territories. There are 50 states, each having its own capital, then the country has a capital itself, taking us to 51, then the US has 14 territories across the planet. However, most are uninhabited atolls. If we just take into account inhabited territories, then the US could technically have up to 56 capitals. Number 44. At the time of making this video, the most recent country to move its capital is Palau, who moved its capital from Koror City to Gorilmud in 2006. Again, depending on when you're watching this video, this may have changed, as there are a few countries such as Indonesia and Egypt who are in the process of moving their capitals. Number 45. According to the CIA World Factbook, the 100th most populated capital city on Earth by metro population is Nur Sultan, the capital city of Kazakhstan, with a population of some 1.2 million. A slightly higher population than 101st place Islamabad, but just less than Dublin of Ireland. Number 46. Valletta, the capital city of Malta, is found just 355 kilometers away from Tripoli, the capital city of Libya. This is one of the shortest distances between two capitals that are found on different continents. Number 47. It is possible to walk from Lisbon, the capital of Portugal, to Singapore, whilst not crossing any body of water. The walk would take around 139 days, travelling some nearly 15,000 kilometers. Number 48. Vietnam has one of the lowest ratios in the world when it comes to its capital city's population versus its most populous city. So its capital, Hanoi, has a population of some 8.1 million. Yet its most populated is Ho Chi Minh City, whose population is some 9 million. This gives a ratio of around 1.1. Let's compare this to, say, Australia, where Sydney is more than 12 times more populated than the capital, Canberra. Number 49. According to a quiz taken over 3.8 million times, Gorilmud, the capital city of Palau, is the world's least known capital city. Only 14% of people who took the quiz were able to guess it. On the opposite end of the spectrum, Paris scored first with 92%. And finally, number 50. The three most populated capital cities on Earth by urban area combine for a total population of around 100 million people. This is a higher population than that of Vietnam, the 15th most populated country on the planet. So there we have it, 50 random but interesting capital city facts. If you can think of any of the good ones, please do let us know in the comments below. Subscribe for more geography content, and as always, thank you so much for watching.